Our first keynote speaker of this beautiful morning, we have Madhura Talegaonkar. She is the head CSR but for Bajaj Electricals Limited, integrating HR with CSR.
To begin with, I think this is a very interesting topic to start with, how HR and CSR can be really integrated. I belong to the company right now called Bajaj Electricals, part of the Bajaj group of companies. And a lot of volunteering is a part of the DNA of the organization in itself. But how did we want to focus it and formalize it in our corporate culture was a big challenge when we were thinking about it several years back. How do we move away from the traditional way of working that we were used to? Plus, how do we really actually engage our workforce? And how do we really talk it or term it in the terms of what we understand CSR today? We decided to preserve what we have. We decided to preserve the culture of the organization that we have. I'm going to run you through these slides. I believe I have about 30 minutes. So some of it has been actually quite incorporated into what we do at Bajaj Electricals. I'll then probably leave it open for question answer, Q&A, for maybe last 5 minutes, if that's the protocol. Yeah. So I will talk about the two definitions of CSR that we talk about and are very widely discussed. This is a definition, of course, picked up straight from the Harvard. I don't need to talk about it. But if you can see this and the definition that I'm going to talk about next from Sri Jamnalal Bajaj and how we co-opted or how we live this philosophy for the last many years, you would see that we've actually been doing what we have been talking for many years. We're talking now about creating shared value. And we have been actually trying to adhere to these very principles from, I think, the 1920s, that he actually wrote a philosophical statement to address his employees way back then. So this is a definition we talk about or we believe strongly in and what's probably understood largely. CSR encompasses not only what the companies do with their profits, but how do they make them. It goes beyond philanthropy, compliance, and addresses how companies manage their economic, social, and environmental impacts, as well as their relationships with the key spheres of influence. Now, this is what we actually very, very strongly believe in. What are your key spheres of influence and how you can actually have a long-term relationship with each and every sphere that you're present in. So this was, like I said, way back almost a decade, almost a century ago. To the goddess Lakshmi, I pray to grant me wisdom to carry on business with honesty and grant me prosperity in business and the good sense to utilize it for the benefit of the country and its afflicted people. Now, this was the very foundation of creating shared value, not just with the company, not just with the employees, not just with your vendors, with your contractors, with your suppliers, but to the whole gamut of operations that you are present in and how you can actually elevate not just your own profits, but the whole community that you engage with. And in that, your human resources or your workforce is a very, very key or an important part or an important player to basically raise the whole standard of your contribution to the civil society. Just to take you on board as to where we have reached through our own CSR journey. We basically the winner of the Golden Peacock Award for 2016 for excellence in corporate social responsibility. We've also engaged very largely with the state governments on various projects, be it solar electrification and be it tobacco control, very specific, very unique to the sites we are operating in. We work with the factories. We actually have a small committee, and I'll explain to you how we go ahead and how we engage with our own human resources and forces, and we tailor-make to the requirements. So what happens is a lot is talked about when we talk about CSR, and especially this is Mumbai, so it's a little better over here. But if you'll attend the whole conferences in Delhi, the whole language and the whole thing becomes very, very different altogether, right? The benefits and what needs to be done and the SROI. And all of that is extremely, extremely important, but so is it important that, at all across your verticals, all across your levels, everybody becomes a participant in this journey. We have a lot of things to achieve personally, professionally, in your companies, in your different verticals, in your business houses, but I think this platform is extremely crucial to ensure that we are also not just engaging our employees, but we also make them a participant, a willing participant in your entire journey, and we have a lot of, nothing is forced down upon them, but the whole thing comes from within. And we've achieved measurable success with all the diverse stakeholders. So how we define it, like We chose very consciously, deliberately, after doing a lot of FGDs with our senior management, with our middle-level management, junior management, what we were doing currently, what we were doing in the past. We didn't want to retain a lot of what we were doing in the past. We didn't want to let go of it. We just want to have we wanted to carry that journey along and plus add on something which would add more value and make us more update with the current trends. So 4 pillars of CSR that we talk about in Bajaj Electricals are sustainability, diversity and inclusion, employee volunteering, community outreach programs. These are our 4 strong core pillars that we work on and we engage in, and none of them are exclusive to the other. They're all completely interlinked with each other. Under this, we have chosen a priority for our CSR community outreach programs, ensuring environmental sustainability, promoting its education, promotion of education, vocational skills and livelihoods, promoting preventive health care, promoting Indian arts and culture. Now, if you look at this, the first two priorities were defined and designed as a part of the change process. The Indian Companies Act probably was instrumental in ensuring a good amount of budgets are allocated for CSR. We were always allocating some kind of budgets for doing different and diverse activities. Fortunately, in the Bajaj Group, it was decided that each of the group company would have its own CSR programs, would have its own CSR department, or with whatever structure they chose to do. The corporate philanthropy organizations that we have, like the foundation, Jamnalal Bajaj, or the foundation or the others, Janki Devi Gramin Vikas Sanstha, would remain and might choose to work through them, or we might even choose to work through our own operations. So we chose to decide to work independently, but in a collaborative way, wherever we would need to have common funding or common understanding. The last two, promoting preventive healthcare and promoting arts and culture, was something which we were already doing, and we thought we would still continue to engage in to a large extent, and how we would interlink and interweave it to the other two, which we added on based on looking at what Bajaj Electricals was in the sphere of the business. And a lot of co-option happened with actually having business heads coming on board, because we have, as you all are aware, Bajaj Electricals has 3 main verticals, within one company. We have an EPC segment, engineering and projects, so we work quite a bit into rural interiors. Then we have a consumer durable segment, which is, of course, so we are working pan-India, the presence, and now we are working beyond India. We have a presence across 20 cities with our offices, plus, of course, with the consumer connect, it would be everywhere. And then we have something called as lighting and luminaires, which is again a kind of your B2B segment. So we are in the B2B segment, we are in the B2C segment, we are in 3 verticals. So which means we will have even a very diverse portfolio where your employees are concerned, where your HR is concerned. So we chose these as our priorities, and we chose a certain programmatic focus based on how it evolved in the last few years. So under the community outreach program, which basically talks more about your investments in your 2% CSR. So if you go back here, our investments of 2%, what we understand as CSR in India, comes only in the 4th pillar. We engage and we invest also a separate budget over and above a 2% compliance budget on all the other 3 pillars. Obviously, there'll be a give and take. It would not match to what it is in that. So, in fact, I've taken sessions on earlier as to how do you do CSR budgeting and how do you really ensure that you can talk to the board, you can talk to your management as to what your budgets should look more diverse than what it is only beyond your 2%. So, aligned programs under your community outreach program, very focused. I mean, under the programmatic approach, the rest that we do is called as tobacco control under our promotive preventive healthcare, Clean India, Green India. And of course, now Clean India and Green India, I've had my exports head coming and saying that we are now starting in Kenya and Sri Lanka, and they've actually very actively had their CSR programs run over there. So, sir, please take the India off or add something else so it can go well with your, global trends of what Bajaj Electricals is going to be operational in. And Shiksha Vikas is a very unique program designed primarily to engage the employees, volunteering and working and nurturing with different schools and communities, and the entire program is extremely exhaustive but customized to the specific communities and schools that they are working in. So like each BU and department works with a particular school and customizes the program as per the requirements and the necessities of the different communities, be it the children, be it the staff, be it the trust, be it the parents, and then come up with a specific program. So it's a highly engaging and an exhausting program, but a very beautiful and a very tailor-made and a custom program, customized program for that particular location where my employees are working. Now, when we have done all this with a lot of effort, I will just quickly take you through the snapshot of how we have been able to use our employees, our human resources. And when I'm talking about employees, it's just one part of it. We've also been able to use our entire distribution network. We've been able to use a vendor channel. We've been able to use a lot of linkages and relationships to bring them along on board to conduct different kinds of activities. And we even monitor and track these through our online CSR module, which is, again, built internally. The kinds of activities that the employees have engaged and been involved in. So we have these large-scale tree plantation programs which are audited. We have the number of activities that have been engaged across India. If you can see that, the number of volunteering days achieved. So on an average, we could achieve one volunteering day we count for the convenience of ease is about 8 hours, 8 hours. And we achieved about 1.75 volunteering days per person per day. We conducted tobacco awareness sessions, a lot of other events. These are just the major highlights. And what we do is, like, when we run for a cause. So we don't consider it as a CSR, but we consider it as a very important part of employee engagement. And we have a lot of people coming in from everywhere. So be it Raipur, be it Chennai, forget the big marathons or the races. People will decide a theme. Usually we support the cause of environment, and then they'll actually take on board and they'll bring it, to the notice, and they'll start running. And so we have actually called health of the environment and health of the individual. Again, that's a very, very unique program that we have designed, because in Bajaj Electricals, I think the average age is slightly higher than probably you would have in an investment bank or an IT company. So we have actually interlinked with the health of an individual and the health of the environment. So they take certain commitments to even look at their own health and the commitment of the environment. And it's a very unique, like a design program. We keep doing a lot of things around that year on year. And so maybe like 4 years ago, we didn't have 50 people coming out and saying, I want to walk or run. Today we have about 600 people actually fighting across to even say that, okay, let me just participate, let me run, let me associate, let me collaborate with somebody else, let me see if I can take a differently able group and then, join a Pinkathon race, or let me go for the Mumbai Marathon, let me do something else and all that. And so that's how they've been motivated and inspired, not just for themselves, but for the others also. Our CSR footprint, like I said, we are a very unique company. We are spread across because of our projects, because of our branches, because of our locations. So there's always a debate or a deliberation as to, do you spread thin, or do you spread thick, or you spread deep, or what do you really do? But when I have my spread coming across from, say, Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari to east to my westernmost point, and I have my offices over there, and I have my employees over there, maybe not as large as what probably Mumbai would be there. And they're very keen to engage and contribute. And we, as a company, have also taken a kind of a policy to ensure that we will be a little more inclusive. So our diversity and inclusion goes beyond just gender. Of course, gender is a key point, and we are working on that. But also, can we be geographically, regionally inclusive? So can we have some, projects happening? Can we have some proactive engagement happening in Jammu and Kashmir or in the Northeast? And we try and see how we can engage more proactively with the local communities there, local organizations there. Some of the activities that we have just taken, you can see it. Now, the interesting part is we have actually tried to put up a committee, we call it as a CSR committee, and we have the employees actually having a voice to say as to how they can contribute. So our 2% programs are designed internally with a lot of contribution from the business teams coming in and saying that, can we do this? Can we have a skilling program in which can we, so I'll come to that slide later. But this is what we thought about as to how do we really engage proactively the employees who have a lot to offer beyond their 9 to 6 job or beyond what they're contributing, and yet I can make an important change. So if you can see the key highlights, I would like to just go through quickly from here. So the employees contribute certain amount of time to the different programs. We have something called as a CSR champion, We also have something called the sustainability champion in each of the BU and the departments. So we have a CSR champion and a sustainability champion. So right now I'm going to talk about more from the point of view of the specifically the CSR champion and sustainability champion, what they really do with the departments. So they basically liaise with their markets, with their teams, with the company within, and they try to bring in about certain kind of influences in which they can actually try and say, let's do this. We co-opt, we look at what our priorities are, and then we define. So internally, if you look at our time spent, 30 to 40% of our time is largely engaged with ensuring that we get the company employees very actively contributing, which goes beyond these 16 hours. I mean, I have had certain BUs and departments who have contributed 5 days, 6 days annually, the entire BU department, like a customer care who was a part of our design program for skilling and after-sales repair technicians program, right from designing the curriculum to training the skilling organization to putting in a lot of effort. I think that particular year, they had crossed almost 10 volunteering days, which they did beyond their office hours. Going, training, piloting the program, and this is something would be in very remote locations. We didn't want to choke the pipeline by saying that, okay, let's do it in Mumbai because of the convenience. So even in the northeast or in the east, we would pick up cities where we also tried to see if we could pick up the gaps where, of course, the technicians were not there. And we were okay with the entire industry standards being elevated with our contribution. So it was a 1,000 technician program. But that was how the amount and the intent of involvement that we had from the department and the BU in contributing towards the CSR programs. Like I said, the way we work as a champion is a liaising person between his department and the CSR department. We also have something called as a CSR rating committee. CSR committee. I'll come to the next slide later. How we've incentivized and encouraged our employees in our Achievers program. Annually, quarterly, 6 monthly, or annually, we give awards specifically for teams or for individual members who have done substantial amount of work in the domain of CSR. So along with any of your other awards for your sales targets or for anything else, we also ensure that in the same forum, the CMD is shaking hands with somebody for doing a contribution in achieving a sales target or marketing or some work in being cost effective. He's also appreciated for the work or she's appreciated for the work done in the domain of or in the social contribution. So how have we actually done this? Because when you talk about monitoring and measuring, now that becomes a kind of a key, crucial indicator whether you like it or not. I think we can philosophically talk about a lot of things, but how do I then quantify? Along with basically when you're talking about quantity and quality, you're looking at how do I quantify the contribution to do it? How do I monitor? How do I impact? How do I know how much is the effort that's been put in and the outcome that's been achieved through the efforts that I put in? So we actually designed an entire system through the IT support, through the HR support. We have it embedded in our performance management system. So we designed a performance management system for the employees in which we actually co-opted, what goals they would take individually and also what goals they would take as a team or a department. There are certain guidelines available, SOPs have been prepared, by the CSR, but how would you really do it? How would you really engage? Under certain guidelines is something which they take up voluntarily on their own, and they document it and they keep it with in their goals. So they set up individual CSR goals. The CSR champion, along with the BU head, sets up the team or the department level CSR goals. There's a periodic review by the CSR committee, which consists of the CMD, the JMD, the head HR, the head CSR, the head of the business units, some cross-functional members from the different teams. We also have something called the CSR rating. This is an individual rating as well as your BU and department level rating. This is very unique till last year, till I think, last year we only had a rating for the BU or the department, but from the last year, I think we moved towards even actually rating an individual for its contribution and appreciating for the work, so that we actually formalize it in the system, in your performance management system. Now, through this process, of course, the reviews happen periodically, but the annual review by the CSR committee, which I said comprises of all these people. So what happens is the champions or the representatives actually come across and get a chance and get an opportunity to network, meet, liaise, present at all levels. You may be an entrant into the organization, you may be a management associate, or you may be a person who may have very different qualities and skills, but not identified so far. You do get an opportunity to rub, shoulders with, talk to, present your ideas, present your skills, present your leadership skills to the highest of the management, in 2 or 3 forums in a year. And we've actually seen stars, being actually appreciated, for the skills and the competencies that they really have, and probably may be hidden in the normal, course of their work. Yeah, and at the end of the year, we also do give them a performance over and above the performance incentive, something which we appreciate for the work that they've contributed, and there's a rating process, and they do get the incentive. Now, the common question that comes across, I'm going to preempt some of your answers for the want of time of some of the questions that may come. The common question that probably comes is, did this incentive really, does this really work? And should you monetize incentives when you're actually encouraging people to volunteer the time, consciously and volunteer? So the point is, incentives will not get you your volunteering, will not get you your engagement, will not get you your involvement. This was there a few years ago when I joined in. People were not even aware, people were not so keen to even understand what it was. But the point is, it was a reward system, it was a part of it, and the moment the whole support system was created, or a facilitation was created for them to channelize their energies to contribute. And they really do a lot of meaningful contribution. Most of our contribution, except for the grand CSR days that we have, are done after office hours, before office hours, or during the weekends, right? So all that, except for if they are part of a core CSR programs, like I talked to you about the technicians program and all that, where they really need to contribute during the day, and they're going somewhere and they're traveling, and then it's integrated and co-opted into their work hours. So pure incentives will never help, will never motivate, but if you have an entire support system created for the employees to feel comfortable about and identifying areas, and you work them along. We have great number of training sessions going throughout the year. We have a calendars prepared for basically creating, trained professionals beyond their work domain. So they have a choice to be a waste warrior, they have a choice to be an anti-tobacco, they have a choice to be an environmentalist, and we create a lot of education material, we create a lot of training of the trainer material to ensure that they are also part of our journey. So some of the testimonials we have, some of the employees using the platform, being identified, and then actually being put on to different kind of areas. In fact, this was a very unique project where they actually tried to work with a differently abled school, and they used a lot of our products to train the children from that particular school. And now in the next few months or so, these children are actually going and training others. I mean, they're partially differently abled, but they're able to actually talk and train others. So this is how the Bridge the Gap program has actually worked. So from one school to the other, we've trained them, they've become now they're training of the trainers, and they're actually trying to be actually a part of the larger civil society, and it works for everybody. This can be quantified for my reports, but the change that the person actually talks, when we have a lot of these sessions, we call it CSR Evolve, where these people come and talk about how it has transformed them as an individual. This is something which we want as a takeaway for an employee, or for a partner, or for a collaborator with Bajaj Electricals when they're actually getting engaged with CSR along with us and along with our journey. I already spoke about this because this was actually very good. So one example I gave you was about Project Disha, where we were talking about skilling. The other was in the year 2015. Now that was the International Year of the Light, which was declared by the UN. And obviously we are in the space of lighting, domestic lighting, and like I said, in all of that. So we again partnered with organizations that work for promoting science, that work for promoting environmental organizations that work for promoting conservation of energy, and we designed an entire curriculum and a syllabus for them to spread across to a lot of schools. And then all this is available in the domain for anybody who wants to take this. And our employees would go and volunteer and talk about these sessions to these government schools or even private schools, and talk about just light. What is light? They have a regular syllabus, but they don't really understand the common sense, of how it is useful when you come in a company. So what is light? What are the different forms of light? What is an LED? What is different forms of energy? How do you translate? What is your solar light? How does it work? And that's how we even we involve a lot of our employees who, like I said, would then go through this training to train their children along with an organization and then conduct these kinds of sessions, which also gives them a connect. Now, these were conducted with the children in the age group of higher school, so from 6th to 10th standard. So these are the youth or the children are going to be your future consumers. So do you even understand how this connect can actually make basically a valuable insight into you as an individual? You know, what are the youth thinking today? What are the children? So it gives you another connect also, another angle, another perspective along with doing your good. So it has to work, it has to be a win-win situation for all, you know, for the business, for the HR, for the CSR, as to how does a marriage really work, you know, by closing in. We also have a solar division which also helps execute a lot of off-grid solar sustainable projects. So we basically identify, since we are also in the line of power distribution, but we do that for the government. You know, we do a lot of work with the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana. There are a lot of villages who basically will not be able to be catered even through the main line or through the main channels through which, because they're too far off and too remote. So we've worked with different partners to see if we could create at least resource centers, libraries, solar-powered computer laboratories, through which, so now the whole design or the technical knowledge or the involvement then is from our employees who then contribute and then decide. Now, even identifying the sites while they're going on board, their whole contribution. So these are all funds. Some of it, if it is part of a larger program or design, it comes under CSR. Some of it would then be budgeted by the BU inside their own budgets, or we would even take an enhanced budget over and above, like I said, because if it doesn't fit into my compliance, I would still go ahead and do it, but I would, you know, probably budget or bill for it separately. Some glimpses of our activities. These beautiful photos. And this is a CSR club. I think I've stuck to my time. I still have some time for question answers. Is that fine, Tarun? Yeah? Anything else that you all would want to ask or would want to just take on board?
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. My question is, it is very beautiful to see how CSR is integrated into performance management. So I have two questions with regards to this. First is, it is not easy to have a CSR goal because not everybody feels for the causes that company is supporting.
Yeah.
So what did you do to have everybody focusing on CSR or having their own goals? Is it the company goals? Is it their individual CSR goals? Is it the company enforcing the CSR?
Yeah.
So
it's a very interesting question, and I'm glad you brought it along. In fact, a lot of it initially I had a lot of my former head of HR, he would actually say a lot of your CSR without the HR is only PR, you know. So I said, okay, if that's your belief and you strongly believe that, let's try and see how we actually work towards it. But I completely agree with you that it's very difficult because I, as an individual, very strongly believe as a development professional that when it comes to only volunteering, okay, the individuals should be left to what really they feel, you know, passionate about, because that's where they would want to contribute, they would want to engage in. But somewhere when we are talking about aggregators in the long run, it becomes very difficult. So we have designed a program. Now, when we started some years ago, we left it completely, it was very different from what it looks today. So it's completely evolving, the whole journey or the whole program, and it's never going to be looking like that. You know, so like, even in my entire verticals that I handle, the 3 business units and the departments, some departments are way ahead, some business units are way ahead, some are, I keep saying that, oh, you are in year 1, you are in year 4, you're in year 6. You know, so it's never going to be at one point of time that you're going to be able to get how all of them are going to be working together. So we started with saying that, okay, you go out, you just go, you want to go and distribute stuff, You want to go and visit organizations, orphanages, old age homes, plant trees, do whatever you want. Because see, like I said, I don't belong. I mean, Bajaj Electricals is not a typical IT or an investment bank where, you know, the average age is very low and there's a youthful population brimming with ideas. And I've worked in those companies before, where I've had to say, stop. I cannot handle this, you know, we need to only do this much at this point of time. Because the culture there would be slightly different, that let's focus on this. And if I would announce a blood donation drive, I would get 500 earlier. If I would announce a blood donation drive, I'm just giving you an example, which is like very small. I probably would not even get 30 or 40 because there would be health implications, or there would be something or the other, or people would be just out or whatever. And again, like I said, the work profiles are different here, right? Most of your IT companies would have people sitting at a desk, you know, if they're not off-site or on-site or whatever. Here I have a marketing, I have a sales. I don't even have people on my desk or, you know, sitting in one place for like 18, 20 days of the time, you know, of their jobs, except for the support functions. So how do we do it? As we started with, like I said, it was a huge amount of investment, a huge amount of collaboration, identifying the right CSR champions who would actually then work along with. So I actually have a whole, so the CSR champions eventually had to convince the HR to say that, okay, some % of their time, formal work would be engaged in this. And then we identified and looked at local issues. So we started the journey like that, saying that, okay, let's see what you can do, what you want to do. So today we have come to an area where we say, fine. So people now say that, so we had matching grant. So you want to do this, fine. Then you do this, and we will then match the grant, you know, to whatever. If you have an innovative idea. So like I said, I've not put in everything over here, but you have an innovative idea in this space. You want to try it out, and if it's approved by the committee and you get a go ahead, we will give you the matching grant. And then so that's how we designed it, we evolved it, and eventually today, yes, I use largely the platform to under the 4 heads, to aggregate data and to see how it is largely impactful. But the individual CSR goals are more personal. The department BU goals are more aligned with the business objectives. So that's how we have differentiated.
Hi. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, here.
Okay, sorry, I was looking here.
It was a nice presentation. Thank you so much. In one of the slides, you have mentioned something on the Indian art and culture.
Yeah.
And there was a line mentioned to preserve Indian heritage.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate more what you have done or what the team has done on those fronts?
Correct. So I will just pick that up from the, so that was under the section 135, promoting arts and culture and preserving the Indian culture and heritage. What we are doing is traditionally, like I said, the first two were taken on new few years back when we were trying to evolve a strategy for CSR and for Bajaj Electricals. But the below 2 was something which we were supporting for many years. So we support a lot of organizations which work on promoting arts, traditional arts, painting, Indian, you know, whatever. So this is one, there are few organizations. So the only difference that we added to that was we kept supporting them, we kept funding those organizations because they work pan-India, and they have identified now. Earlier, they would actually work only with emerging artists or established artists, and in only the painting category. We have moved towards it to being all kinds of arts, right? So it can be your folk art, it can be your traditional artisanry, it can be everything. So the whole idea about the whole program is nurturing talent across India to promote the local art and craft through established organizations, and we give fellowships. So we give fellowships to this organization who identifies these emerging artists. And we have also looking at another organization which is looking at basically on the similar lines, but identifying emerging local folk talented singers. So these are the two things that we are supporting. We've been supporting them for really long, and in fact, we added on these kinds of criterias. We also added under supporting art and craft, we added education portion of it. So we said that while this is fine, we also need to ensure that the younger generations also feel, you know, the necessity to work along and carry this whole journey ahead. So we have actually also started, so it's called as a Balanand. One is a Kalanand and a Balanand. So these are the two programs that we support, where the children can also be identified as not necessarily emerging artists, but talented, so they get talent scholarships, and the emerging artists get fellowship.